The stars of this movie are real-life identical twins Mary and Madeleine Collinson, and they're notable for being the first set of identical twins to appear in Playboy magazine. But, I never really understood this fetishizing of twins. I guess I just prefer the variety of regular sisters. Welcome to Exploitation Reviews, and me, Rob, and today I'm taking a look at Twins of Evil from 1971. This is a late-entry Hammer horror film from director John Huff, or, as is known in France, John Yeah, something like that. So, let's see how we did. We open on some pilgrim types riding up to this cabin. That's Hammer regular Peter Cushing here playing Gustav Weil. And he thinks this woman is a witch, so he burns her at the stake. No trial, no evidence, just fire. And as far as cold opens go, this one is pretty fast and pretty brutal. Good job, Hammer Films. After the credits, we join our twins arriving to a new village by carriage. They are moving in with their aunt and uncle after the untimely deaths of their parents. And their uncle is the woman burner from the opening. Better be on your best behavior, ladies. He's not very happy that the twins are no longer dressed in black. They tell him that they did dress in black for the 2 months after their parents' death, and, where they come from, that's the standard. He's not entirely satisfied with this answer, though. He thinks it's disrespectful to move on so soon, and this is where I differ from conservative Christians, because I think it's disrespectful to burn people alive. That night, the girls complain about living in such a strict household, and Uncle Gustav goes out to kill more women. But he discovers that the woman that he wanted to murder is shacked up with Count Karnstein. This puts a little damper on his murder plans. The Count, after all, is protected by the Emperor. The Count and Gustav argue, and the Count even admits in a joking kind of way that he's a servant of Satan, but there's really nothing Gustav can do, so he leaves. Luckily, though, Gustav finds another girl roaming the streets, so he ties her up and burns her alive. Now he can sleep the sleep of good Christian men. But we soon learn that the Count was not joking about being a servant of Satan, and he sacrifices a young girl in order to call upon him. Satan doesn't show up, but the girl's blood revives Countess Marcilla Karnstein, who promptly turns the Count into a vampire. Ingrid Pitt, the Karnstein Vampire from The Vampire Lovers, was offered this role, but she turned it down. The next morning, Count is out on the town, and he sees something he likes, so he invites them up to his castle. And their owner, Frida, is interested in taking those twins up there. Her sister, however, is not so into the idea and tries to convince her to stay home. But bad girls will do what bad girls do, so she sneaks off and runs up to the castle. And there, the Count promptly turns her into a vampire. So now we've got one vampire twin and one good twin, and nobody really can tell the two apart just by looking, and that might cause some difficulties later, but that's enough out of me as far as plot goes. Let's talk some highlights. This movie is really nice to look at, and I don't just mean all of those plunging necklines. I do mean all of those plunging necklines, but I mean things aside from those as well. The sets and the costumes all look great, but what I really like is the lighting and the color palette. Look at this shot here. Gorgeous. Or the way the light reflects here. Very, very cool. There's also some really great tension near the end of the movie. I don't want to give too much away, but like I said before, it's not so easy to tell these twins apart. One of them is evil, one of them is good. The uncle likes to burn evil people at the stake. This is going to be pretty cool coming into the end. And the twins here are wonderful. Like all the other women in this film, they've got those nice plunging necklines, and unlike all the other women in the film, they actually plunge out of those necklines, so that's pretty great. But I wouldn't say the movie is perfect. Like a Satan-worshipping aristocrat spending time with the commoners in their cabins, it has some shortcomings. Well, I guess my biggest problem with this film is there isn't really anyone to root for, anyone to really get on the side of. There's no hero, for example. On the one side we've got Gustav, and he's a viciously evil Puritan, a murderer of women. On the other side is the viciously evil Count, murderer of women. In the middle we've got the twins, and one joins the Count, and the other one, she's kind of alone. And that would have been fine. She should have been a good character to attach to, except she's kind of whiny and is actually more of a victim than a heroic protagonist. The movie doesn't really have a protagonist, not really. At least not one the audience can really identify with or root for. It's one of those movies where you kind of want to see everyone die. Not the good twin, of course. I mean, you want to see her get saved, but that's the thing. She needs to be saved. She's not the proactive, heroic protagonist. She's a victim. The movie should have made the good twin as proactive for good as it made the evil twin proactive for evil. That could have given the movie a cool structure. Or it could have strengthened that sisterly bond and maybe gave the vampire twin some sort of conflict about how to treat her human sister. That could have been cool too, but that's not what the movie did. The movie didn't do either one of these things. But what we do have is still a pretty cool vampire flick. In fact, it's one of the better late-entry Hammer films, and definitely my favorite of the 3 Karnstein Vampire films. It's gorgeous, it's sexy, it's well worth taking a look at.